In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your inner tie rod, which is right underneath this boot, and this is what it looks like. The first thing we have to do is remove the wheel. So with a 19mm socket, take all 5 of your lug bolts off and then remove the wheel. Now I want to start by separating the inner from the outer tie rod, and you have this 21mm jam nut here that needs to get broken free. So I'm going to put my 21 wrench on it, and with a rubber mallet I'm just going to give this a few taps until it breaks free. Okay, there we go. Broke free. It's spinning the whole inner tie rod, but that's fine. With an 18mm socket, remove the nut that secures your outer tie rod onto the knuckle. There it is. This is free. Sometimes it's not. You'll have to use a hammer and drive it out. Now remove the outer tie rod, but count the amount of turns that it takes to take it off so that when you put it back, you can drive down to your local alignment shop safely and get a professional alignment, because you will need one after this job, but this will get you as close as possible. I counted 22.5 turns, but of course for you it's going to be different. They're not all going to be the same. Next we have to remove this jam nut, so I'm going to get a deep 21mm socket and some locking pliers so I can hold this and unthread the nut. Lock these on as tight as you can, because this nut, well, hopefully for you it's not as rusty, but for me it kind of is. It's stuck here, so I'll try and break it free. It worked. Now since I have these, I'm just going to keep using them, but usually I'd use some needle nose pliers. Take this clamp off. And now if you follow the boot, you can see that little clamp there that's sticking out. I'm going to use a pry bar and a hammer and punch that off of there. Put my pry bar right on that clamp. Bonk it and it should pop free. This is a one-time use clamp, so once you break it, you don't want to reuse it. Take it off, throw this away. Now you can grab the boot, pop it off the rack, and we'll have to free it up from here because it's pretty stuck. I'm going to use a pocket screwdriver. It's not seized on here, but it's just stuck on the rust, the lip that the rust formed. So I'm trying to help it get over that. Spray a little rust penetrant in there. Trying to work the penetrant in here so it can actually slide off with ease. There we go. Now I'm going to use some large pliers because this has a bunch of flat cutouts here for either a large wrench or pliers like I'm going to use. And I'm going to break it free this way. You can use different inner tie rod tools. There will be one that I'm going to show you for putting the new one on, because the new one doesn't have these cutouts, so I'll have to show you that tool. But whatever you have to use, use it, and let's get this tie rod off of here. There we go. Shouldn't be very tight. There it is. I put a little bit of blue thread locker on the threads of this tie rod that screw into the steering rack. Optional, but I suggest it. And I'm gonna thread this on, bottom it out, and snug it. And to snug it, I'm gonna use the other tool that I mentioned. So this is the tie rod tool that I was talking about. The way it works is it clamps down this ball and socket joint on the outside, and you tighten down these two nuts, and then you can spin this. The key to this is for this tool to be nice and snug. Don't go crazy tight, just snug so it can bite into that tie rod. Now take your ratchet, 3/8 drive tool, and nice and snug. Perfect. Now take the tool off. Your tie rod should have come with a little packet of grease. I'm going to put that grease right in this ball and socket joint, and I'm going to pack as much as I can in here. This will lubricate it and keep it working for as long as possible. Work this in. Perfect. Now let's get the boot on. Now let's get the boot back over. Slide it on. And I'm actually going to turn the steering wheel so that the rack gets pulled in. That'll make it easier for us to line up the boot and clamp it down. And slide it over. I'm going to use a large heavy-duty wire tie in place of that steel clamp. Just make sure the boot is completely seated. And I'll tighten this down. Nice and snug, and the excess will just break off. Let's put on the outer clamp. This I'm going to reuse because it's still good. If yours is weak and doesn't have enough spring tension left to it, well, then you can either replace it with another one or just use another wire tie. Now I like to put anti-seize on the threads here, and this is to prevent the inner and outer tie rods from seizing with each other, and it'll help your alignment professional down the line. You don't need a lot, just a light coating over all the threads. Now take your new jam nut and drive it on all the way, or most of the way. Now take your outer tie rod and thread it on the same amount of turns that it took to take it off. This will get you as close as possible to a decent alignment so you can drive down and actually get a real alignment. That's 22 right there. That was my number. Now put the tie rod through the knuckle. Make sure it goes through all the way. Put on your mounting nut. The torque for this is 52 foot-pounds or 70 Newton meters. Right there. Don't forget to tighten up the jam nut. Use your 21mm wrench and make this nice and snug. And then bring the tie rod back so it's not sitting at an angle. Let's put the wheel back on, put on all 5 of your lug bolts, and then we'll snug them up and torque them. A 100 foot-pounds in a cross pattern for these lug bolts. Double check them. Perfect.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.